Season 3 of The Mandalorian is probably the most exciting show the world is looking forward to in 2023. People can't wait to meet familiar characters again, like Din Djarin, Greef Karga, Grogu, the Armorer, Bo-Katan, and many other Mandalorians. Of course, as a LEGO collector, you want all the cool characters appearing in shows and movies, and if a lot of people want a certain minifig, it drives their price sky high. We saw this last year with the Grand Inquisitor and the sixth brother of the Kenobi trailer released, when their prices skyrocketed because so many people wanted a figure of them. The same thing can happen with builds, like the Republic Attack Shuttle, which went up in price after its appearance in the 7th season of the Clone Wars. A set filling the build as well as the minifigure category for The Mandalorian Season 3 is the Mandalorian Starfighter. We see Bo-Katan, a number of Mandalorians and their spacecrafts appearing in the Mando Season 3 trailer, confirming that almost every part of the set will be relevant for it. So the question I'm answering today is whether it is worth getting the set now for a little over retail price probably, or if you should wait till the release of The Mandalorian Season 3. First up, we have to look at what the set actually comes with. For a retail price of $60, you get a build consisting of 544 pieces and 3 minifigures to go alongside it. Those figures are Bo-Katan, Gar Saxon, and a Mandalorian Loyalist, and actually what we'll be looking at first to figure out their relevance to the 3rd season of The Mandalorian. Bo-Katan, voiced and played by Katie Sackhoff, was of course the main drive for a lot of people to buy this set. It was the first time getting this character after her original appearance in the Clone Wars almost 11 years ago, and the main reason this set was so hard to find when it released. But stepping away from all the outside reasons this figure was so hyped up, I still have to say that this is a great minifig. Her helmet is probably one of the best Mandalorian ones out there, only outdone by Gar Saxon, another minifigure of the set. The printing all around is fantastic, with only the missing arm printing keeping this figure from being probably the best LEGO Star Wars minifig ever. My only real complaint is the face print. Even though the headband looks good in combination with the hair, she looks way too young here. I don't know how you would fix this, but making her look at least a little older would also make her more appealing to people who only know her from The Mandalorian. If you put the helmet back on though, she easily passes as both her Clone Wars and Mandalorian version, so if you want a Bo-Katan to complete your Mandalorian Season 2 or 3 collection, this is your best and only choice, honestly. Now, I mentioned earlier that this set is retiring / always retired, but there's still always the option to get the minifigures on eBay or Bricklink. Those prices will probably go up as well with the release of The Mandalorian, but could drop just like the Inquisitor's prices after they all released in another set. She'll also be in the next Star Wars magazine, which is known for tanking minifigures prices, like with Cloud City Luke Skywalker. So if you really just want a Bo-Katan and nothing else, I'd recommend you buy this figure now or wait till it releases another set, since it will rise in price with the release of Mando Season 3. The second figure, which will be at least somewhat relevant to Season 3 of The Mandalorian, is the Mandalorian Loyalist. Now this figure looks absolutely stellar. Not as great as Bo-Katan, but still far above average. I mean, how often do we have toe printing on a no-name figure? The Mandalorian Season 3 will, as previously mentioned, feature a lot of unique Mandalorians, so the question at hand is, should you get this figure before the show comes out? So far we've seen a lot of content revolving around Bo-Katan, and usually when we see Bo-Katan, the Night Owls appear in one way or another. And even if this figure doesn't appear one-to-one like this, which, let's be honest, it probably won't, it's still a great way to build up either a Death Watch army or a normal Mandalorian army. The last figure included in this set is the leader of the Mandalorian Super Commando, Gar Saxon. When it comes to relevance for the 3rd season of The Mandalorian, he's obviously not gonna appear, he's, well, so you won't need him for Mando Season 3, but in my opinion, it is a minifig everyone should have in their collection. It's one of the best Star Wars figures LEGO has ever produced, and a lot of fans seem to agree with me on that one, since it's the 9th best minifig of 2021 as voted on Brickset. The helmet mold as well as the printing is outstanding, and even though it also looks good in the Armorer, it fits Gar Saxon so much better. When it comes to printing and detail on the body, he's probably one of the best LEGO has ever produced. Hands down, this is the best minifig of this set. It's not relevant to Mando Season 3 at all, but the sheer quality this figure provides already puts it in the upper echelon of Star Wars figs. The aftermarket price reflects this very well, since he is the most expensive figure in the set, going for upwards of $30 on Bricklink and eBay. But as mentioned, the figures aren't the only relevant thing this set has to Season 3 of The Mandalorian, right? The build will probably be just as important, and that's what we're going to answer right now. If we look at the trailer for Season 3, we do see a Mandalorian spacecraft quite similar to the Mandalorian Starfighter. Now, I'm not that versatile when it comes to starships in Star Wars. I do know a bit or two, but certainly not enough to tell you every Mandalorian Starfighter. I assume that the ship we see in the trailer is a Gauntlet Starfighter, since it's the only ship that looks similar to the one we see in the trailer, and I mean, the set and the fighter look almost identical. The only problem is that the Gauntlet is more of a gunship than an actual Starfighter, which would make this set really inaccurate, just like the 2012 version, but I'm just gonna assume that this isn't the same version and something more like a Fang fighter, which we see in Rebels. It's a good looking design, which improves aspects of the old one, does take a step back though in a few others as well. Let's start with the cockpit. It uses the exact same windshield piece as the first one, only with grey stickers instead of white ones, and as you can see, mine are applied terribly. On the inside you have space for 2 minifigures as well as a little control panel. There's no real way to keep the figures in place, since there are neither studs nor center divider, and you just kinda have to hope that they don't flop around too much once you put the windshield windshield back on. Now there are some awkward gaps around the cockpit which could have been fixed rather easily by raising the barrier around the windshield a little, just like they did on the 2012 version. Around the cockpit we find 2 stud shooters which I find to be a little unnecessary since the set does come with spring-loaded shooters on each wing. They also interrupt the otherwise quite consistent color scheme of grey and blue with this very concise central red which is just ugly here. The front of the middle part has 2 smaller guns surrounded by whatever these things are supposed to be. In this case I really prefer the old design more, which had 2 huge guns at the front. They are both accurate since both designs do exist. One is the Mark 1, the other is the Mark 2. I just think the old one looks cleaner and less cramped. Behind the cockpit there's quite a bit of unused space. The whole back area is solid, and even though there's a flap on the underside here, it leads absolutely nowhere. This one also has a turret on the back which is attached to the ship via a ridge pin, which makes it quite sturdy so it won't just spin around like crazy. The wings are where I think the ship scores and loses a lot of points. For example, the brick build design on top of the wings is so much better than the original. The choice of going with 2 shades of blue and grey was a good one in my opinion as well, even though I would have liked the inclusion of some white highlights, but maybe it would have looked horrible, I don't know. Unlike on the 2012 version, the wings on this one feel very sturdy, which is nice, especially for kids in my opinion, since the wings of the old one were a lot flimsier and less suitable for play. The inclusion of the spring-loaded shooters at the back of each wing was a good one as well in my opinion. They aren't distracting and don't throw off the color scheme in any sort of way. Where the wings fall apart for me though are their shape and their underside. The front of the wings look very good in my opinion. There's more shape to them than the original design, which just had a flat cutoff on the inside and a rather simple design in general. The back though has this really ugly looking 90-degree corner here, as well as just a really flat cutoff. This isn't just super ugly in general, it's also inaccurate to the in-universe model. I tried to wrap my head around why they didn't just do the same thing they did with the 2012 version, but I just can't. Same thing with the underside of the fighter. First we have to talk about how this thing lands. It folds up its wings while the body stays where it is. Now the underside of the wings is fully exposed, which means it should be at least somewhat presentable. The designers of the old set thought of that and built the underside to exactly match the top. But if you still didn't like seeing all the holes, you were able to flip the whole thing around and have the started side in front. This was a great decision, which of course meant that they immediately scrapped that and used neither of those ideas. The underside looks nothing like the top and you can't flip it around either. And to top all of this off, there's also no landing gear, which means the body is leaning extremely forward in front, which is fucking ugly. There goes my F-bomb, gotta keep this shit PG. I think especially in the later part of the video you may have realized that I don't really like the build that much. Is that because I think the 2012 version is outstanding? Yeah, the figures really carry the set, and if you really want the figures but are just mildly interested in the build, I'd say get the figures separately on the aftermarket. But if you do want the build, get the 2012 version. You can get the build without the figures for like $30-40 and it's so much better than the new one. So yeah, that's my take. Goodbye.